I now hand the conference over to Mr. Lakshman Sehgal. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Sehgal.
Thanks a lot. Welcome to the SMRPBV third quarter results call. On the call, I have with me, as always, Mr. Gauba, Mr. Kunal Malani, and Vipin Jain. And Vipin will take you through the presentation highlighting the key performance highlights of the quarter. After that, we'll open it up for your questions and be happy to take the same. So over to you, Vipin. Please share the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Aman sir. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vipin Jain, and as always, I will be sharing a presentation and explaining the same. The presentation is already on the company website, and I would be announcing the slide number while making any of the explanation. So I start my presentation with slide number 3, which captures the key highlights for the quarter ended December 2020. For quarter 3 FY21, the group achieved all-round sustained improvement in operating performance of the company, leading to a double-digit EBITDA for the quarter. The group liquidity position continues to be strong, with the net leverage ratio as at December at 1.17x. Gross debt was further reduced by 91 million during the quarter, including the purchase of notes for $17.6 million under the tender offer. In the past, there were several questions on our exposure to EV platform, and hence we have included some information in the current presentation in this regard, which we will explain once we go to the right slide. On the capital structure, we negotiated extension of current RCF, which is due for expiry in June 2021, to be extended by 2 years until June 2023. Lender have already provided their consent, and the final documents are under execution as we speak now. As we are also setting up new facilities, we were carrying higher RCF limits to keep the liquidity available. But since all the new facilities have been stabilized, we are looking at reducing the RCF size to 450 million euro now, and post June 2021, it would be further reduced to a size of 350 million euros. Lastly, we announced acquisition of Plasnet Group, which would give us entry into Turkish market, which is strategically important for us, and we expect closing of this transaction in the quarter 1 of the next fiscal year. With these brief highlights, I move forward to my main presentation, and I start with slide number 5, which represents the simplified group structure as on date, and there is no change in the group structure as compared to the last quarter. Slide number 6 represents global presence of SMRPBV. Again, there is no change as compared to the last quarter. We continue to operate from 70 plants in 24 countries, employing approximately 31,000 employees. Slide number 8 provides an overview on profitability improvement during the current fiscal year. And to give some clarity on trend, we have plotted revenue and EBITDA for the last 7 quarters. We can clearly see that while in quarter 1 of the current fiscal year, we got impacted due to the COVID shutdown, but both revenues and EBITDA have improved consistently in the last 2 quarters. Revenue for the current quarter were at 1.45 billion, which is higher than the average revenue of the last year and corresponding quarter 3 of the last year. This clearly indicates that the revenue are back to the pre-COVID level, and on the profitability side, we can clearly see consistent improvement in operating EBITDA with double-digit EBITDA in quarter 3, which is for the first time we have achieved this performance. This improvement is reflective of all-round performance improvement, including our greenfield at Tuscaloosa and Kecskemét, and also the normalization of the production level in the post-COVID environment. I move to slide number 9, which is an additional slide this time to give some insight into our collaboration with the OEMs on the EV platform. As we had been mentioning in the past, our products are powertrain agnostic, and with increasing trends toward electrification, our products are even gaining more content. We have technologies which are suitable for these new trends, and our product portfolio of interior and exterior modules and mirror give us advantage to develop solutions which customers are looking for. As you can see in the graph, approximately 21% of our order book of 13.1 billion, which was announced as on September, is coming from dedicated EV models, plus EV variant of multi-powertrain model comes on the top. This order book has grown over a period of time, and we can see clearly growth from 18% to 21% of order book from March to September number, and this number is continuously growing. I move to the next slide. This is slide number 10. Slide 10 provides an overview of current quarter performance on a consolidated basis, and revenue increased by 3% as compared to quarter 3 of the last year. However, if you look at the EBITDA has shown significant improvement from 87 million in quarter 3 of the last year to 146 million in the current quarter. As a ratio to sales, EBITDA improved from 6.2% to 10.1% in the current quarter. On the right-hand side, we can see two graphs, profit before taxes and profit after taxes, which have also shown significant improvement. Profit before taxes has improved from 10 million in quarter 3 of the last year to 78 million in current quarter. And after-tax profits have improved from a loss of 3 million in the last year to a positive number of 88 million in the current quarter. So the increase in profit after tax also includes deferred tax asset recognition for 32 million in respect of the prior period losses. And this was due to the fact that the performance of greenfield plants have improved, which allowed us to do this recognition of deferred taxes. Slide number 11 represents consolidated revenue and EBITDA performance for 9 months ended December 2020. Revenues and EBITDA are relatively lower than the last year on account of the COVID-19 disruption during the first quarter, and hence the number may not be comparable. However, despite the lower revenue, EBITDA as a ratio to sales is better at 5.8% as compared to 5.6% in the last year. I move to slide number 12, which gives a similar view on revenue and EBITDA performance for SMP business for the quarter and 9-month period. Revenue for the 9-month period was lower than the previous year period on account of COVID-19, as already explained. However, the revenues for the quarter are higher than the last year of quarter 3. EBITDA for the current year, for the current quarter was 100 million, representing 9.4% of the revenue, as compared to 49 million, which was 4.8% of revenue in quarter 3 of the last year. For the 9-month period, while EBITDA was lower as an absolute number, but as a percentage to revenue, it improved from 3.8% to 4.7%. Slide number 13 gives a similar view for SMR business. Revenue for the quarter was marginally higher than the last year. However, EBITDA for the current quarter improved significantly from 10.8% of the last year quarter 3 to 13.2% in the current quarter. Slide number 14 represents the customer portfolio and geographical spread of SMRP BV's revenue. Inner circle represents the 9 months of the last year, and the outer circle represents the 9 months of the current year. Audi and Daimler are among the largest customers, having revenue share of 19% each of SMRP BV's consolidated revenue, followed by other global OEMs. From a geographical perspective, Germany continues to be the largest market with 25% of the revenue coming from Germany, and followed by USA, China, and Hungary. Slide 15 shows overview of capital expenditure done in the last few years, and we can clearly see that the major investment phase of SMRP BV is already behind us, with all the greenfield facilities now ramping up. Capex trend has been continuously declining, and in the 9-month period of the current year, we incurred a capex of 95 million, which is significantly lower than all the last year. Our focus currently is to ensure capital expenditure which are either directly related to the customer project or related to the productivity improvement at our plant. Slide 16 represents the status of trade working capital for SMRP BV. Trade working capital as of December was 167 million, representing 10 days of revenue. Due to the lower revenue, particularly in the first quarter, the working capital days may not be strictly comparable to the previous year. However, as you can see from the graph that the working capital improved notably from June 2020, which was the peak after the COVID environment, and to September, and further improvement coming in December 2020. Number of days have also improved to the current level of 10 days, coming from 26 days, which was in June, and then coming down gradually from 15 to 10 days in December. Engineering unbilled revenue has further reduced in this quarter with the current level of 231 million euros. Slide 17 gives the detail on the cash flow movement. Cash flow from operating activities before changes in working capital and tax payment was positive at 197 million. Working capital released cash of 65 million, and after tax payment of 10 million, cash inflow from operating activity was positive at 252 million. And this is despite negative impact of COVID-19 on the cash flow during the first quarter. Amount paid for property, plant and equipment was 103 million. And net cash outflow on financing activity was 162 million, primarily due to the repayment of various borrowings and payment of interest and redemption premium on the bond. Closing cash as on 31st of December was 398 million. Slide 19 gives the detail of cash and debt status. Gross debt as at 31st of December was approximately 1 billion and net debt at 609 million, which is the lowest level in the last 14 quarters. Within current year, from the peak level of June 20, due to the COVID impact, gross debt has improved by over 220 million and net debt has improved by over 309 million since June 20 till December 20. Net leverage as per the amended definition under RCF and term loan was at 1.17x. Slide 20 gives detail on liquidity status of the company. As at 31st December, company had access to liquidity of 915 million, which was represented by undrawn portion of committed revolver credit facility and other credit facilities and cash equivalents. This is calculated with reduced RCF size of 450 million since we are in the process of documentation of the RCF extension. Maturity profile of gross debt is also fairly spread with borrowing of only 77 million due in the next 1 year. So this was my last slide on the presentation, and with this I hand it over back to Mr. Vaman Sehgal. Vaman sir, back to you.
Thank you, Vipin. As you can see, team has worked exceptionally hard to deliver these results in these trying conditions, and very, very proud of all the efforts of the entire SMRPBV team and Motherson Group at large. Without any further ado, we'll open it up to questions. Moderator, can you support, please?
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The first question is from the line of Kapil Singh from Nomura. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir, and congratulations on a great performance. I had a question on SMR and SMP in terms of revenue, potential peak revenue that they can do at current level of investments that we have already done, and how much is the maintenance capex that would be required to sustain it, and how do you envision capex going ahead?
Oh, tough question. Look, I think in terms of how much can they do, really it depends, because it's not that we are manufacturing the entire component all ourselves. There are also bought out parts as electronics. So all that also comes into the revenues. But of course, grossed out as we are going through the different companies that are sourcing it. But look, the way I can answer that question is that the order book which we have declared, that's completely serviceable from the existing plants, and we believe that order book will continue to grow. We do not have any significant expansions or investments. We are putting up a small plant for some vertical integration in Serbia, but that is very small compared to some of the other investments that we have made. So only small investments envisaged at this point. I think the investment cycle of putting up these 41 plants in the group in this last cycle is at the right time, as the demand bounces back and we're able to cater to that from the existing plants. For the maintenance capex, Vipin, Kunal, would you like to answer that?
No, I can pick up this question. So Kapilji, what we see that most of the investment is already done. So whatever capex now we are looking at, and in the 9 months we have done only 95 million, and the guidance for this year was below 150, so we are well within the guidance. Most of the facilities are already installed, so we are only looking at either the maintenance capex, but then there will be new platform which will be coming in the existing plant. So while we can say that this is a maintenance capex or a capex for the order book, but the way we see looking at the capex of 150 to 175 million of euro, 65 to 70% would be pure maintenance, but again there would be some portion of the capex which would be required even for the new program which will be coming in the existing plant. So this is the way we see, but no significant new facility which are coming up in the subsequent years.
Okay. So at this stage, there is no requirement for any greenfield or brownfield based on the order book visibility that we have.
That's correct.
There is no need for the greenfield. That's correct.
Okay. And secondly, could you comment if this kind of working capital days is sustainable, and with the deferred tax assets getting created now, what should be the sustainable tax rate that we can expect?
Okay, so on the working capital, Kapil, the way to see, so let's not get into the number of days, because sometimes the number of days can be a little bit misleading the way it is calculated, and because we have to annualize the revenue. But again, if you look at 167 million of working capital, if we go into each and every element, we see inventory coming, every quarter to a lower level. So we are looking at 283 million of inventory, and this is improving. So this is a sustainable level, I can say that. Receivable, because we are talking about 31st December, and last 2 weeks of December are generally all the shutdowns are there in the European market and the American market. So the receivable as an absolute number in December may be a little bit lower, but it can be higher number when we go to March. So this is more of a cyclical thing. Unbilled revenue, we have been talking and giving guidance that we will see a significant reduction in the unbilled revenue. Remember, at one point of time, we were even crossing 500 million of euro. Now we have come to a level of 231 million of euro. So this is a level which, at this level of the revenue will always be, there will be some engineering working capital. So we see that the engineering working capital has come to a reasonable level now, while there can be a little bit of a movement depending upon the new order, but then the peak is already gone, and this is, I would say, a sustainable level, plus minus something depending upon the timing of the new project. Trade liability again is a very, very sustainable level. We are always in the range of 60 plus days, so this is also very sustainable. And amortization again is not a big movement. So if you look at the overall basis, everything is sustainable. There can be some cyclical issues like in December, the receivable can be a lower number, which can be a higher number once we go into March.
Right. And so tax rate?
The tax rate, if you look at on an overall basis, because this year we had this recognition of DTA, so that would not be the right number as a proxy number. What we can say going forward, assuming that there are no sort of a one-time effect in the overall structure, we are looking at our average tax rate in the range of 27 to 28% globally on a consolidated basis.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir, and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask the question. The next question is from the line of Stephanie Vincent from JP Morgan Chase. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you very much for taking my questions. I have a few, if that's okay. The first one is a very near-term view about the impact of semiconductor shortages on your Q4 21 and the 1H 2022 financials, just any color that you can give potentially on the impact to sales and EBITDA. So that's the first one. The second is just on, you're looking at some very nice growth in terms of EV projects, in terms of your percentage of backlog. I was just wondering if you were able to share any color about the relative profitability on those EV projects or on content per vehicle, and also CapEx going forward as a percentage of your CapEx, what is being spent on electric vehicles. And then my last question is just on this extension of the RCF. I mean, given what we've experienced so far, pretty much every supplier, because of this very sharp downturn in Q2, saw them having to renegotiate net debt to EBITDA covenants. I was just wondering if that was something that you were thinking about potentially scrapping for this revolver extension. And those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, a lot of questions. Please forgive me if we ask you to repeat some. We can answer them one by one. So for the first one, the semiconductor shortages. Look, I think that's something that's impacting definitely the customers. They've been vocal about it, but we believe it's a very short-term impact. It's not something that cannot be solved. The most important part is the inherent demand is there, and the customers are pulling. So definitely for a month or a month and a half, 2 months tops, we do see some sort of an impact coming on the customers depending on where they're sourcing the semiconductors from. But there's a lot of action also correspondingly happening, trying to catch up, trying to make sure that excuse me, we can catch up to some of that. We don't see a long-term impact, but definitely in the next 1 month or so, we do see some impact over there. For the other aspect, I think you will know that our products are mostly engine agnostic, so we don't really have anything in issue because of the shift towards electric. We are talking more about what bit of our content is going to EV. But really that number that we've shown does not show any hybrid or those vehicles which are giving both sort of EV and combustion engine variants. As you can imagine, whether it's a combustion engine or a EV, you will still require SMR PBV products. And it's definitely good to see that number is growing as the market is shifting towards giving more and more platforms on EV. EV as in general, in a very general sort of a view, definitely is driven by the car makers as more feature-rich, content-driven, more future-ready sort of a aspect. So a lot more electronics, a lot more focus on lightweighting, different materials, etc. does come in. So we definitely do see that there is a value uptick in supplying those parts as they are very feature-rich. But again, there's still a small portion of the market growing. As you can see, the order book displays what are the products that we have not even started yet, and these will start within the next 2 years. So nothing on the immediate front, but yes, definitely it's growing in the portfolio and helps to increase our value content as well. On the revolver question, I would request Kunal.
Yeah, I'll take that, Kunal here. Stephanie, the RCF has been extended from June 21, and the covenants waiver that we had taken in June 2020 was only to exclude the June quarter in the LTM calculations. So when the new revolver kicks in, there won't be any waiver construct to it. It will be like normal.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Jinesh Gandhi from Motilal Oswal Financial Service. Please go ahead.
Hi. My question pertains to the operating levels of our SMR and SMP plants. Can you throw light based on the current level of activity? What are the utilization levels on an average?
Yeah, most are at pre-COVID levels.
So that would be about 75-78% or much higher than that?
Yeah, most would be above 75%.
Got it. Great. Thanks and all the best.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Chirag Shah from Edelweiss Financial Service. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Just a clarification on this operating level. When you said 75%, the new greenfield would also be at those levels, or they would be at slightly lower levels of utilization? As well as the Kashmir plant.
Sorry, they'd be at the same level, if not better. They're also ramping up, so no difference in that plant compared to the others.
Okay. And would it be a right statement that as those plants become slightly older and integrate with SMR, PV, other plants, actually the efficiency aspect would be far higher given the modern nature of the plant? Would it be a right way of looking at it? The newer plants would be more modern versus the older plants, and hence the efficiency aspect would be better in those plants.
Look, of course, Chirag, I mean, if you only looked at it that way, it would give all my other plants an excuse not to give any improvements, which we don't accept. You have the latest paint shops there, you have the latest injection molding machines, and obviously with the newer investments that come in, those machines are better than last generation machines. So definitely they should have that advantage because of the newer investments. But that doesn't mean that the erstwhile ones can't further improve. I said on that earlier call as well that this performance is not just because of greenfield. It's actually the older mature plants also having a great breather and going in and being able to improve significantly on their operations. SMR in that sense hasn't had a greenfield in a long time, but you're seeing a great improvement there as well. So, of course, the newer plants will be able to, because they have the latest of machines, and will have that edge in the machines. But the mature plants are able to do more complex reductions in cost, drive up efficiencies. We have our own software company, Mind. We are very focused on pushing Industry 4.0. During this time, they're doing a lot of tech upgrades. We've integrated them significantly, into our plants and making sure they continue to improve the performance. Real-time information is something that we're getting much better at. A lot more clarity in global purchasing, being able to club things together. So really, it's really an amazing effort from the full team. I can't only pinpoint the operations. Really getting much smarter in the way we collect data, analyze it, what technology we're using, and of course, strong operational performance all round has resulted in the performance that you see. And definitely hope that it will continue to improve quarter on quarter from here.
Great. This was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to all the participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Jay Kale from Elara Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question, and congrats on a great set of numbers. So my question was regarding, if I just kind of back calculate for the third quarter SMR PBV breakup of the margin, we've seen that a lot of the margin improvement has come because of productivity improvement, mainly on the employee and the other expenses side. But not so much on the gross margin side. I think second quarter we had seen a sharp improvement on the gross margin side. So is it fair to assume that the benefit of the new orders led gross margin expansion is now in the numbers, and from here on we can see margin expansion more led by productivity improvement?
I'll try to answer that, and Vipin can support me. And I mean, definitely, getting those old orders out of the cycle and getting into the new orders, gives us a chance to recalibrate, reprice, and drive through efficiencies. And as plants get more mature, we should definitely be able to see that. I mean, that's played out in SMR, that's playing out in SMP, and will continue to play out. I think there's still way to go. It's not like we think we've reached peak margins or something like that. And again, we are focused on ROS. These companies have to deliver much higher ROS moving forward. And EBITDA is only one aspect of it. So the focus remains on ROS. EBITDA margin definitely helps to increase that. And having the maturity, having the experience, having launched programs, newer programs coming in on existing machinery, all of that definitely does play out. So we're very much optimistic about the future, and are hopeful to see the operating teams continue to deliver better results.
Sure. Thanks and all the best.
Thank you. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1. Ladies and gentlemen,
any further questions. So we are always available. If there are any questions, please, we can we're always welcome to reach out to us. The presentation has been uploaded, and we're always available for any follow-up calls. Really appreciate your support and having your time to explain the results. And look forward to meeting again next quarter and pushing on from here. Thank you so much for your questions and your